Welcome to the show. It's the Trump Tyranny Tracker. It's a half an hour earlier today. We wanted to see if you're on your toes and you found the earlier time slot. And look at how many of you showed up. It's so nice of you to be here. Olga Lautman is here as well, the creator of the Trump Tyranny Tracker, as all of you know, with the most authoritative review of what's going on in terms of the erosion of democracy. And we have a packed show today. This is day 128. Unbelievable. It's just the grind seems unbelievable. I was watching the press conference earlier on today, and just I don't know if you saw Trump. Like what can you say about it? What can you say? He's just he's in full force. So let's begin with a really interesting story. This is about the border czar. So Tom Homan, who's Trump's border czar, I guess that's his name, that's his title, was quietly collecting consulting fees from the Geo Group. That's one of America's largest private prison companies. So this guy was consulting for the private prison companies, and then he joins the administration. And now Homan, the same guy, is obviously leading the charge to massively expand all these private prisons and the detention capacity of the ICE facilities. So you've got, the guy who's introducing all these private prisons. He's also the guy who previously was earning money for consulting for that prison company. It's such a revolving door. It's unbelievable.
I mean, I'll just correct you. Previously, he might still be leading it. And what's interesting is that the Geo Group. I mean, this is the group that is really facilitating and has the most contracts. They've been awarded an enormous amount of contracts since Trump came back to power. And they're the ones, who are operating all the detention centers, including the one in Newark, New Jersey, where the congresswoman and the mayor were, she was indicted, he was arrested. And the fact, I mean, this is textbook corruption. This is what you expect in Russia, not in the United States, and so blatant. I mean, they don't even bother hiding. And the fact you have, the border czar who was working with and making his money from Geo Group, and now, is dealing with Geo Group and making sure that they get more contracts funneled to run these detention centers is frankly reprehensible. And to add one last thing, I mean, these detention centers have the worst human rights violations. I mean, they don't even have clean, like soap or, normal, settings for people. And we see, like, as of what was it when we spoke? Like a week ago, there were 9 deaths in ICE detention. What is happening there?
Yeah, I mean, look at the idea that the prison companies are actually running the enforcement agency. So, and we know the judicial system is being completely ignored. So we basically have a racket being run by the prison companies themselves are in charge of who gets arrested, and they don't have to deal with the courts. They could just throw people into jail, and then they get more money. The more people they throw in, the more they get. This is, this is not due process is not being followed. This is a private enterprise just to arrest whoever they want and make money off it. Because each prisoner is obviously, this is a big scandal. This is a massive scandal. I can't believe it hasn't gotten more attention.
Well, a lot of things, including the fact we have a dictator. And just to add one thing, I put it in the tracker and I really want to highlight it very quickly. Yesterday there was a 20-year-old high school student who attended his asylum hearing in court. The minute he walked out, he was pounced on by ICE. They grabbed him. He did everything right. He came in right. He did everything right. He's been following the court orders. And here you have a high school student, who is being grabbed and taken away. And again, this is a profitable business on top of a political, red meat to their, psychotic base who for Christians would, I think, pay to see immigrants executed. I mean, so
the war against foreign students, just unbelievable. And we'll see what that means later on in tomorrow's show as well. The other part of the authoritarian purge that keeps happening in Washington is in the legislative branch and the executive branch. It's a 30-year veteran of the Bureau of Land Management who was escorted out by security after he was told his staff to ignore an unauthorized Doge-backed memo freezing internal job moves. So this is obviously formerly Elon Musk's operation. Maybe it still is his operation. They're systematically removing civil servants who resist illegal or extreme directives. So this guy was just presumably for good reason saying, you don't have to follow this particular directive. And he was marched out by security officials.
I mean, would you follow directives from big balls?
Well, no, I
But
wouldn't. But still, it's. I mean, does Doge really have this kind of authority to not only remove civil servants, but then also to remove people who are questioning that? I mean, it seems incredibly powerful without any recourse.
sorry, I'm
No, no,
distracted
no
for a
worries.
second because my headphones keep popping up, even though I don't want them on.
It's one of those
Oh
days.
my
It's one of
God.
those days. Technology is all over the place for me too
I'm
today.
telling you, it's like attacking my phone, my head, whatever, wireless headphones. Anyway, look, this is again, it's disgusting. It's the government, all the agencies are being hijacked by Trump, his loyalists, and these Musk operatives who are hackers and like very questionable characters who did never received any vetting and are just got thrown in there are now and have been not only now have been taking senior leadership out who are following the law. And if they refuse to follow the law, you have some big balls coming in and escorting you out of the building.
Hmm.
And this goes to the bigger thing, and this is something I'm going to write an article later today. And we need to hammer this point home because the media is, selling us fairy tales. Oh, Musk left and he is back to focusing on his businesses and that's it. And he's out of government and out of politics and whatever. No, he's not. Every single agency has his operatives installed. They are all there. And as a result, Musk doesn't have to physically be there because he set up the apparatus, not only with AI technology that they, installed everywhere and are collecting all the data, but also with his operatives. And here is a perfect, case in point that you have one of his operatives, who are giving orders to a senior leader. And if he refuses to follow these orders because they are illegal, he gets fired and, purged and escorted out of a building.
The amount of fear and intimidation being introduced into the civil service is just unbelievable. I mean, these people are, there to protect the parks of America. They're not there to face off with these operatives from Doge, and yet this is their reality right now. They have to, basically defend their territory and defend their staffers against these people who are not qualified to be doing any of this with no oversight. And it's just unconscionable. So no wonder so many people are leaving the civil service, because who wants to stay in that environment where there's so much fear and intimidation that you
Yeah.
can't do your job? The other interesting thing that's happening is, as you pointed out in the tracker, is that ICE, just going back to them, is building a mass surveillance network using private companies and unofficial arrangements. According to 404 Media, ICE has been conducting thousands of searches through Flock Safety. That's a nationwide license plate camera network since the inauguration. Despite having no official contract, they're accessing the surveillance system through local police favors, but they're searching for ICE warrants. So it's pretty specifically an ICE thing, and illegal immigration targets. This represents the quiet construction of authoritarian infrastructure and really is. I should not be accessing this kind of data, and especially on a favor basis. Why are local police doing that?
You know what differentiated? I have to use past tense, sadly. The US from countries like Russia or China, that we actually have everything documented. We have everything, everyone is held accountable. The police and various law enforcement have insignia so we can identify who they were. I mean, have a car accident. It could be the most minor thing, and the police come with like a whole book of paperwork that they fill out. I mean, this is the point, and the fact that now you have these people off the grid. You know, Carrying out these surveillance tactics with companies through favors. This is what happens inside of Russia, where
Mm.
things are happening, nothing is written down because it is illegal. And, this is just another case. And again, right now, as we keep saying, immigrants and international students are the test. This is being tested on them for us. So, I mean, right now they're looking for, immigrants, and to disappear because there's no due process. But I mean, what stops them from next year or later on this year putting in my license plate number and having track all my movements around what I'm doing, who I'm meeting with, where I'm going, and whatnot. And this is,
Yeah.
a very dangerous line we're crossing because if they want to use this, it should be really documented on the website showing this is one of our partners that we work with, and there needs to be reports, and Congress is supposed to be oversight for this illegal things, and Congress is non-existent.
Yeah, I think it's even worse than that. I mean, my reporting, as we've been trying to put together what's really going on in Doge in terms of surveillance, is that they're actually also tracking your phone IP locations. And so they can not only identify your social media, your tax records, your treasury records,
Yep.
they can actually geolocate you and then cross reference that with a network of cameras and do face ID on you and identify you in a specific location anywhere in the world, or at least in America. And so if they're after you, if they want to get you, they will get you by just identifying you through the system that they're building. And this is the frightening thing. I write about it in the New Feudalism on narrative.org. If people want to check it out, they really should. It's growing into quite a multi-part series where we just looked at all these surveillance data and capability that Doge has been building, and it's really frightening. I mean, it's beyond just license plate numbers. It's everything in one
Everything.
database, searchable with just a one system. So no matter who you are, if you've got access to that system, and a lot of people will, they can do searches to find out whether it's it doesn't matter who you are. They could be, maybe you want to find out what your ex-wife is doing. Maybe you want to find out what your ex-business partner is doing. Maybe you want to take someone out. Easy to do if you know exactly where they're located through their IP addresses and their geolocation through your phones. It's very, very, very scary what they're doing over there. Uh,
Worse, I mean, you have, like I keep saying, big balls because this is really his name. I mean,
yeah.
you have him, someone like him who has access to all our information, and someone, a few people mentioned Palantir.
Mhm.
Absolutely. You have Palantir operatives now embedded also. Musk moved them in the surveillance state that they were building in February, March. And yes, you have, a surveillance state being built, and I mean, frankly, it's something we need to push back on.
And that, the aforementioned Big Balls, of course, his grandfather, I think, was a former KGB spy. So, it's not just a Doge surveillance, American surveillance issue. It could be a foreign surveillance issue that we're
Absolutely.
facing, and that's a whole other level of concern. It really is quite challenging. There's also a lot of intimidation going on in the world of the judicial system. Trump's attacks on judges are generating real world violence. There's new U.S. Marshal data that came out that shows that the threats against federal judges have spiked dramatically since Trump's return. So there's 162 judges who were targeted from March the 1st to April the 14th alone, more than double the previous 5 months. So that's incredible that in 1 month they had more than double the previous five. The surge directly correlates with Trump's escalating public attacks on judges. This is a very bad sign.
Yeah, it is. Honestly, it's horrific what is happening. And, never in my life did I think I'd be defending judges because, frankly, I don't like judges anytime I face off with them. But on, a bigger thing, look, this is one of the last checks on Trump. Congress has checked out. They're just a rubber stamp. Democrats don't have enough power. I mean, they're using the levers they have to stall things, but they can't really stop things. Um, and then you have the judicial branch and Trump. I mean, the amount of threats that he lobs at these judges and his supporters. And I mean, really, every week, a few times, I'm documenting different threats, to judges and more so to their families, where they're going after the children and the wives.
Hmm.
And this is extremely dangerous. And then what makes it even more dangerous is that the U.S. Marshal Service protects judges. And they are under the control of Department of Justice. And this, I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, and but at least in modern history, This is the first time that you have judges, including Roberts, Chief Justice Roberts, who are thinking about creating their own judicial law enforcement arm because they don't trust that the U.S. Marshals will protect them. Because you have a Pam Bondi who's going to say, nope, we don't need to, put resources on protecting this judge from a death threat or from an assassination attempt or from threats to his children or her children. And I mean, this is really where, I mean, people keep asking, are we in an institutional crisis? Are we going? Yes, we are. When you have judges in America who are so concerned that the marshals who are assigned will not protect them because the Department of Justice will give orders, and you have a president and congressional members, his sycophants, who are doing everything to intimidate the judges, to impeach the judges who rule against him, who they're ruling for the law. They're not ruling for him, against him, they're ruling by the law. And I mean, this is where we get into very dangerous territory, on top of the fact that he's just ignoring these judges, and so are his top cabinet officials.
Yeah, I mean, those two stories, the ones with the increased attacks on marshals, and also the story that you just mentioned about there are real explorations now about a team of security people to just help judges, a security force that's basically going to handle bomb scares, SWAT team hoaxes, coordinated political attacks, because judges are really struggling right now to keep their positions. They're being under attack in an incredible way. And if there's ever a flashing red light for authoritarianism is here, this is it. When you start seeing the judiciary attacked in the way that this is happening in the real world with real world threats, that they need a new security force just to protect themselves and answerable to themselves because they don't trust the government security force. Well, that tells you that we really are facing a major authoritarian crisis. And these judges are obviously incredibly right to be concerned about their safety. We've seen it before in the last Trump administration. So, it's certainly terrifying. I mean, that we're at this point where they're investigating those kinds of facilities.
Yeah. No, it really is. And when you see authoritarianism, I mean, well, it's not creeping, it's here.
Mm-hmm.
When you see it, you look for certain patterns. And like you said, once you see the judicial branch under attack. I mean, in Russia, the judicial branch is under the Kremlin's control. They just open up investigations and do what the Kremlin says, issue out arrest warrants based on what directives they get. There's no law, period.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lawless, terrorist state. But once you get to a point here that you have this, and the fact that, like I said, I, know enough of U.S. history, but I don't recall a time where one branch did not trust the Department of Justice. I mean, this isn't just an obscure,
Mm-hmm.
agency. This is the Department of Justice, and they don't trust that Pam Bondi will, make sure that judges are protected. I mean, this is really one of those things that it should be, on every media show. Pundits should be discussing it instead of sitting and discussing whatever they are, or Biden's,
Mm-hmm.
age that we're still on a year later, and whatnot. These
Mm-hmm.
are the serious things that the media should be addressing. And I mean, really, they're failing the moment to the point that they're putting us into this crisis after giving us Trump, because they treated him like, I don't know, like uh, they
Jesus,
treated
really?
yeah, they
That is,
treated him. I mean, they make
yeah.
ratings off of him, and
Mm,
that's it. And it's like, screw democracy. Let's give him all the coverage and attack the Democrats. And Democrats are in disarray every minute. But everything Trump says, including the speech you referenced earlier, that's perfectly fine. But if Biden stumbles, oh my God, Biden, there's a big cover up. I mean, give me a break. It's such.
You're so right to bring all these stories together because, in fact, the DOJ is so weaponized right now, whether it's Ed Martin's role there, whether it's all these interesting, bizarre sidebars that Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, I said interesting, I didn't mean uninteresting, but, they have taken the FBI on to investigate things that are not big issues right now, that are never really were. They were just all conspiracy theories from years ago. When you've got, the enforcement arm, you've got the ICE guy is basically making money on the side by being partners with the prison companies. I mean, all of it seems like it's just one giant corrupt enterprise, and they're continuously, no matter where you look, they're just looking for ways to make money and to destroy the system as we know it. And it's really eroding everyone's trust in the DOJ. I mean, you can't trust the DOJ right now. You can't trust the FBI right now. And you can't blame these judges for saying, we don't trust you guys to keep us safe, because how can they? They're investigating the judges for, making decisions in their court of law, and they're being investigated for it. It's unbelievable.
Yep, minus the car bomb explosions, and all the assassinations. I mean, welcome to Moscow in the 1990s. This is exactly, how it started forming, where you had a mafia kleptocratic state. I mean, same thing, I mean, temporarily they had a minute of not, I won't call it ever democracy, but capability to move towards a democracy. And this is what happened. I mean, you literally had exactly same type of tactics happening, which led to this, again, Putin consolidating power.
This is exactly the kind of stuff we're going to be talking about next Tuesday at 8 p.m. when you and I are doing our first Authoritarianism 101 seminar, where we're going to look at all this kind of stuff that revolves what makes authoritarianism. But also in the first episode of the first seminar, we're going to be focused on resistance and how resistance takes shape, and what form of resistance you can help with or form yourself, or at least be educated at all the different forms of resistance that you can do when you're facing an authoritarian state. So that's for paid subscribers. So unfortunately, you have to be a paid subscriber, but we deserve it. And absolutely, it'll be a very informative hour. So 8 p.m. next Tuesday night, Olga will put out the details soon. But just as you were talking about it, I was like, this is exactly the kind of information, your experience with what happened in Russia, your experience with what happened in Ukraine, my experience with what happened in South Africa. We can really paint a picture for you of where we're heading into and how you can resist it and how you can deal with it, because there's a lot of change coming to America in the next few years.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's the Tyranny Tracker for today. We'll see you again tomorrow. But you're coming up in just in a short while as well with another event.
Yeah, I'm having event, a Zoom event with Julie. And we are, it's going to be one of those town halls where we discuss everything that is happening here and what we can do, and
well, everyone should check that out. That's Olga's Zoom event that's coming up, and you should also check out the Trump Tyranny Tracker.substack.com. Don't forget to subscribe and become a paid subscriber.
Feudalism system.
Yes, and absolutely. Check out the new feudalism series that's on narrative.org, narrativ.org. I'll be back in an hour when we'll be talking to Dean Blundell on the 5-Stack with a special focus on what they're doing around foreign students and the incredible efforts they're taking to keep foreign students out of America, even though they bring in billions of dollars in revenue to the American system. Well, all of that in the next hour. Thanks very much for being here on the Trump Tyranny Tracker. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good day, Olga.
Bye.
Bye.